Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I appreciate your patience and we're back and full steam ahead. I have a bunch of great guests lined up for you guys in the next coming months and I'm really pumped about it. Most of them are brand new, but some of them are some of your favorite guests that I'm having back to check in to see how they're doing a few years later, see what they've implemented, see how things have changed, and how their business has grown since I've talked to them last. And now that we're back, I decided that I want to give you guys maximum value out of this podcast. I know that breaking up the show into 30-minute segments always left you guys wanting more. So I'm going to give it to you. From now on, we're going to be doing full-length episodes. I tried to do the mini episode thing, but you know us welders, all we want to do is talk. So those episodes that were supposed to be short 15, 20-minute episodes ended up being an hour or more. So you know what? I'm just going to let you have it all. But in return, I'm going to want to talk to more of you guys. Now, I totally understand that doing an interview isn't for everybody, and I totally get that. But I know most of you have some hilarious job site stories that the rest of us would love to hear. So you know what? I want to hear them. I want to hear all about the shenanigans that you've experienced over the years on the job sites from all different types of trades. I also want to hear about the hard lessons you've learned. Those lessons that cost you a lot of money and that were painful to learn. As business owners, I know we all have them. And I'd like you to share them with the guys who are listening so they don't make the same mistakes. I think sharing these stories helps us all out and know that we're in this together. And hopefully some people will learn from it. So if you're up for sharing a short story or a full-length episode, or you want to recommend somebody, let me know. Head on over to weldingbusinessowners.com and click the book a call button on there. That'll take you to the Google Calendar of all the times that I get set up to sit down with you guys. Or send me an email, kevin@jmwfabrication.com. I look forward to talking with you and putting out episodes that you guys want to hear. Hey guys, welcome to the Welding Business Owners Podcast, where our podcasts are late, but our bids are on time. I'm your host, Kevin with JMW Fabrication. Today, we've got a brand new full-length episode with Austin Lanier from Dirt Road Metalworks. Some of you guys might recognize him from the CNC Plasma Table Tips and Tricks Uncensored Facebook group and the Handrail Gate and Fabrication Tips Facebook group. He's an active contributor on there, and that's how I got to know him. I've seen his stuff on there, and it's really, really great work. I had a great time sitting down with him and learning all about his shop, the struggles he's had, where he started, and where he got to now. You can follow along with his stuff on Facebook at Dirt Road Metalworks LLC and on Instagram at Dirt Road Metalworks. And if you don't know the Facebook groups I'm referring to, go check them out. There's a lot of really good tips and tricks and guys on there who will help you out with stuff that you need that will really help you elevate your business. And if you guys like this episode, please share it. Give us a 5-star review on your podcast player and share it with somebody that you think it'll help. So without any further ado, here's the full-length episode with Austin Lanier from Dirt Road Metalworks. All right, Austin, great to finally catch up. I've been following your stuff for a while. If everybody doesn't know Austin, he's the man behind the best Facebook pages on the internet. The CNC plasma cutting Uncensored and the Handrail Tips and Tricks on top of Dirt Road Metalworks. And yeah, so instead of me giving you the intro, how about you intro yourself, man?
Man, let's see. Other than online, my online presence kind of stems just to the Facebook CNC group and like I said, the Handrail group. That's kind of the bulk of my online presence. I'm not big on TikTok or Snapchat or whatever the kids do these days. But yeah, Dirt Road Metalworks, man. It kind of stemmed from a side business that grew into my time was more valuable off the clock than it was on the clock. And then, and so I ended up, quitting my day job and cutting out a long commute that was giving me problems, and, just started my business full time out of the backyard. I was, doing it on the side for about 4 years, and, built my first CNC plasma table, used all my side money to buy tools, buy welding machines, a truck, trailer, whatever I needed to start my business full time. I pretty much had in place before I stepped out full time, and I was the only income for our family, so I couldn't use my day job money to fund my side business. So my side business had to fund itself. Um, so that being said, it was almost like a proof to me that the business could work, that it could be profitable. So if I could do it on the side on nights and weekends and make money off of it, more than just funding my shop and buying new tools and it being a wash every week or month, if I could actually put money in my pocket, then I knew that if I committed to it every day, that it would it could sustain my family and the income that I needed to have as a full, from if I did away with my full-time job. So it, that's kind of where it grew from. Before that, I was, I went to college. I had a major in industrial technology. So what I learned in college got my foot in the door as a draftsman with using AutoCAD every day, running CNC machines, running a water jet, a big plasma table, and all that. And so even now, whenever I still pretty much do a lot of the same stuff, work with the same equipment, and still use what I learned in college every day, and still use what I learned at my old job every day. And it, like I said, I wouldn't be here without either one of those.
Yeah.
And so it all kind of built on each other, and so yeah, that's pretty much how it all came about,
So what year did you jump ship and finally go full time?
2018.
Okay.
I know it was in the beginning of the year because I got my tax return that year, and I said, all right, I can. This is going to be added to my nest egg, and with this and the money that I saved up, now I've got 6 months to make this happen. So if from the time that I quit my job to the time that I left, or time that I quit my job, and I had about $20,000 worth of work on the books when I quit and got my tax return and all that kind of stuff. And I said, all right, I've got this much money and the work is going to last about 2 months. After this 2 months, if I don't get a single job in here, I've got about 6 to 8 months worth of money saved up to where I can go, without income. And so in that 6 to 8 months, I've got to either make it happen or start looking for another job. And, around here, it's, it wouldn't be easy to step into another drafting position, because where I was at was an hour and a half away, and I was driving an hour and a half one way, to get there. And that's a big, around the chemical plants and all that. So, out here it's old dairy farms and, not much, so it was like, I'd have to find something else, a different job in a different industry. And at 6 months, if I couldn't find anything that was worth sticking with, and then I just end up saying, "Hi, welcome to Home Depot. Your shit's on aisle 4," just to get by. But after those first 2 months, I mean, I still had new jobs rolling in, and never had that lag time to where I was sitting around saying, I wonder if this is going to make it or not. So I always had work coming in, and I was able to add to that emergency fund to where, I never had to touch it. I never had to dip into it and say, oh, work's slow and I got to pay bills and let me just, dip into it this month. So that's never really been the case. I've always been profitable because, the work has been there. Two, I didn't lowball myself on the prices that I gave to them. If it was going to cost me money to do the job, I was just not going to do the job, So, but yeah, that's it's about where it started at and where it's been at.
So, how did you learn how to price jobs when you first started out?
So whenever I was at my day job, it was like I said, I was a draftsman, but let's see, the company itself was too big to be small, too small to be big, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were a turnaround service. But in the shop, we had a shop division, a field division, and all that. And in the shop, we built um, Section 8 pressure vessels for chemical plants and like API, oil storage tanks, process piping. We did some structural steel, stuff like that. It's typical, industrial fab shop type stuff. So the man that owned the company was my boss, and his office was next to mine, and we had, probably, I think about 6 shop guys, some office staff, and then the field hands would kind of come and go as we had turnarounds. So a lot of the jobs that we did in the shop were priced out and oversaw by the shop supervisor. And whenever he got busy or whenever he had small jobs, he would pitch them to me and say, "Hey, price this job out. You're going to be doing the bulk of the work because it's a bunch of water jet parts and you're the only one that runs a water jet. So figure out material, figure out how long it's going to take you, put it on pallet, start to finish, do the job, and give me a price and write all your numbers down, show it to me, and I'll okay it and we'll send it on to the customer." So so basically doing that for my boss, which was, he owned the company. It wasn't like I had to go through chain of command or corporate ladder or anything like that. So, he basically taught me that, hey, sit down and, just write everything down, start to finish. What's it going to cost you? Like from the time you pick up the phone, talk to the customer, how long does that take? How long, we got to procure materials and this is a typical markup that we put on it. And these are the reasons why. We mark up material because it takes time to order it. And we got to pay our, our purchasing agent, or the lady one of the office ladies, to sit at her desk and order material. And it takes time for a hand in the shop to stop what he's doing, jump on the forklift, unload the truck, put it in the right rack, and stuff like that. So our material markup is accounts for some of that, labor wise. It costs money to keep the lights on in the shop, and a certain portion of the shop is dedicated to material storage. So we've got to recoup our money there, and so 20% might seem like a lot, and we may be buying a $100,000 worth of material, and that seems like a pretty hefty markup whenever you multiply it out, But it also gives you cushion where if you lose track of it somewhere else, or track of expenses somewhere else, and need to make up for it. So it's a little bit, he explained a lot of that to me, and basically just was on me about, hey, just write everything down, go through everything in your head, start to finish, and put a number to it. Yeah. And at the end of it, we're going to add them all up, and then, all right, how confident are you in that number? Not really. All right, mark it up a certain percentage. How confident are you in this small job? Well, pretty confident because we don't have to buy material. Material's in a rack. It's a small job. Well, we could do it basically for free and be okay. All right, well, don't put a don't put any more markup on it.
Hmm.
Then, just different way that just being hard dollar pricing. Some stuff we did, oh man, it was, just cost plus, where it was looking at it and it's like, look, there's way too many variables in here that could change and directly affect the price. So we're going to give you a ballpark and say it's going to be between 20,000 and 50,000. And we're going to say it's somewhere in between there, and we're just going to have to bill this as time and material.
Yeah.
So if you're okay with the worst case scenario being $50,000, then, if that's within your budget, then we've got a relationship where you can trust me enough to keep track of our time and materials and bill
Hmm.
you accordingly so that it's a fair price in the end. And that you're not paying some trumped up number that, we just look at it and say, all right, $100,000,
Yeah.
And so it kind of gave the customer a little bit more confidence in us as the fabrication shop that could build whatever they were building and fix
Hmm.
whatever whatever we had to do. And
Yeah.
so that's really where I learned a lot of the pricing stuff from, and still do a lot of that today. I've got notepads out the wazoo with jobs on it where I've added stuff up um, and figured out pricing on jobs and all that. So, when it comes back to like the Facebook groups and all that, asking, well, what would you charge? Well, in Louisiana, it would be, $1,000. Out in Texas, man, you'd get $2,000 for that. It's like, all right, well,
Yeah.
where
So
where you come
subjective.
where do you come up with that? Just because you're at a different place on the map, like, all right, what's the difference? Is it because you're paying more for material? It's not just where you're located.
Hmm.
It's got to come back to something on that, on that notepad, on that list of variables where you're adding all your prices up. That you got to see a difference somewhere in there. It's not strictly because you're in this location.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes so long, guys who I see it as the guys who ask those questions out of pure, rather than wanting to learn, more out of like laziness. Those guys
Right.
are the ones who don't understand how intense of a question that is for somebody else to explain, because
That's
like
a
like a few
that's a
times.
where that's a where do babies come from question.
Go ask your
It's
mom,
like,
go ask somebody else.
well, all right, so let's where do we start? And
Yeah,
how
yeah.
prepared are you for the answer?
Yeah, and like I've spent some time really explaining out some, like I've answered some of those guys, and
Right.
really spent some time explaining it out, and it's really like I think a lot of people get value out of it when somebody really takes the time to explain it out. But
Right.
you know, just asking that question is, you'll have 30 answers that have just pricing, but there's nothing behind it. And I feel like
Right. Right.
it's almost doing themselves a disservice to ask that question without asking for clarification as to how did you get to that price? You know what I mean?
Right. Right. And so the biggest thing is your labor rate, right? So you can know how much time you've got into a job, but all right, well, how much is your labor rate?
Hmm.
So at that company, we had a rate for our shop, and we had a shop rate, a field rate, and whenever we got the water jet, well, I had a water jet rate. And so I was there for a total of 6 years, and I think at year four, well, they bought the water jet and everything, and it was something new and new to us. I had never ran one before, but kind of had to jump in feet first and figure it out. And so before we took on the first water jet job, because we were using it mainly to water jet our parts in house, so that we didn't have to sub it out. But there were machine shops and all that. You could throw a rock in any direction out that way and hit a machine shop. They were getting me to rough out their parts on the water jet, and then they would do the finishing passes on it and stuff like that. So whenever we got it, he was like, "Look, before we take on any paying jobs, I want you to sit down and figure out how much it costs me to run that machine. Like how much electricity, how much garnet is it going to use, how much, what we've got to rebuild the intensifiers every, so many hundreds of hours. Like, pretty much break it down to where how much is it costing me per hour to run that machine. Then we'll factor in our labor rate at a shop rate and stuff like that. So when it came down to it, it was like, okay, I know my shop rate is at 65 an hour there, and it's costing me $30 an hour to run this machine. And of that 30, I think 17 or $18 an hour of it was just garnet, and the abrasive that mixes in with the water. And so then it was like, all right, it's 3-phase pump, and our electricity bill. I had to pull electricity bills and everything and see what the average increase was for the month that we were running it, and just stuff like that, just to figure out what it actually costs us to run that machine. So we were charging $125 an hour at the time for just water jet jobs.
Yeah.
But if we would have stuck with our $65 an hour shop rate for me to run the water jet, it would cost us money to take on paying jobs, for water jet jobs. So stuff like that, to where he was big on, hey, what's the numbers say? And if we needed to increase it for these type of jobs, then we've got to increase it for that type of jobs, and not be not be afraid to charge for it.
Yep.
And so, but and that being a kind of a big thing that a lot of people don't ask about. So and so down the road charges 75 an hour. I guess I'm gonna charge 70 an hour. It's like, all right, well, so and so down the road also is renting the shop.
Yeah.
If you're underneath the oak tree in your backyard, it's you don't have the same overhead. You're not comparing apples to apples.
And that's hard to explain to the guys that you have to find that balance. Even if you keep your overhead low, you still need to not undercut the market.
Right.
And
right.
because I see some of the guys on there who are oh, I'm charging $35 an hour. I'm like, dude, you are screwing everybody around you, because they're charging 85, and you don't have the overhead, but you get too many guys who do that. It just it just drains the whole market of guys who actually have, and then I do it as a side job for $35 an hour, and then your market gets used to that, and then you kind of screw everybody else in the market, and then you're like, oh, I don't really want to do it anymore. Well, you've trained so many of those people to almost balk at the actual going rate for welding. You know what I mean?
Right.
When they say, "Oh, I can't get it for this anymore. I'm gonna go to like a legit shop," and then they're like, "Oh, 85 an hour." It's like, okay, you've been getting a hell of a deal for the past however long. Like, this is actually what it costs. So, like, teaching guys to actually charge market rate, even if they're, and it's awesome if your overhead's low. That's just more profit that you get to put in your pocket,
Right. So, and with that growth of profit, you should be expanding, business wise. You should be expanding to the point where you're going to gain a little bit of overhead. You're going to gain a shop. You're going to gain, more tools and stuff like that, to where you are going to have to replace it. And if you don't increase your labor rate, it's going to end up coming out of your pocket, not the business's pocket.
Yep.
So whenever I was doing it on the side, and this was before I built my shop at home, and I worked a deal up with my boss. Like I said, it's a small company, so he's manning on the company. I worked a deal up with him. Was like, hey, look, I'm getting a ton of people wanting fire pits and signs and stuff cut on the plasma table, and like, what do I just tell him no, or can I do it after hours? He was like, look, I'm fine if you want to use the machines after hours. You're the only one that uses them anyway. Because he didn't have anybody else that knew how to run the plasma table or the water jet. And, he was like, if you want to do it after hours, that's fine with me. Just pay me cash for whatever material you use. If you need to buy a sheet of material, then, put it off on a job and pay me cash for it. And so I was like, okay. Well, after 4 years, I was giving him, man, I think some weeks I was giving him like twice my paycheck in cash for materials on jobs that I was working all night long to do. And so, it got to the point where, he kind of, understood where I was at with it and everything. But I was also charging, I was also figuring up my labor as my overtime rate. So if I was getting paid for whatever it was at the time, I think I was at like $25, $30 an hour or something. I was charging my time and a half overtime rate, for my labor plus material and stuff like that. So I wasn't charging just beer money for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or taking material and times two. Like if I spent 4 hours on it, I was, that's my overtime.
Yeah.
And then, when it got down to it, I had a job sheet a mile long. I was like, look, this is cutting into my family time, not just my overtime. Like I'm 60, 70 hours a week plus more. So, I'm working 7 days a week on this, not, having no time for family. So what's my family time worth?
Yep.
So that's it, so I was charging double, two and a half times what my labor rate was, my straight time rate. And I'm, still getting people willing to pay for it and stuff like that. So, that's kind of where it built up to where it's at now, and being able to step out into full time was, not charging beer money for it. Because it's, with the intent of going full time, you can't be, like you said, undercutting yourself and undercutting the industry. If you have the intent of going full time, then yeah, you're gonna start steadily increasing that labor rate. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So get back to Dirt Road Metalworks. Like, what kind of stuff do you guys do now? And like, what's your team look like? And just flush that out a little bit. Just give everybody a good picture of what you guys do.
Let's see. My team consists of me and myself and I. So I sweep the floor, I weld, I do the books, I do the CAD drawings. So I do have, I've got no full-time employees, so it's just me.
Did you have full-time guys ever?
No, never.
Oh, okay. Do you work with other shops you sub out to?
Yes. So,
okay, that's what I've seen, because I know I've seen other guys work with you. I'm like, oh, he's got like, he's got a couple guys, whatever. I didn't know that they were actually just subs. Gotcha. Okay.
No. Well, they're not even subs. They're other one-man fab shops.
Yeah.
So whenever I need a hand on a job that's bigger than what I can handle by myself, I pick up the phone and give one of them a call. Say, hey, do you want to go in halves on this job? I've got it priced at this. I've got the customer locked in. Basically you just fall in line with me. We go in halves on it and keep track of hours, time, expenses. If you come out of pocket on a job or come out of pocket for something that we need, or if I do, we keep track of it. At the end of the job, we, do all of our pluses and minuses, figure out what our profit is, and we split it 50-50. And at the end of the job, he goes back to his shop, I go back to my shop. So, and if I need help on just the install, like if the shop work is easy peasy, I can do that by myself. I can build it, send it out, get it powder coated, and I just need a hand picking it up, putting it in place. I'll line it up with one of them, and they'll ride with me, give me a hand for a day. I'll give them a healthy day rate, and to where it's worth their time away from their shop. And after that day, they go back to their shop, and I go back to mine. And
Nice.
same thing, vice versa.
That worked out pretty good for you.
Oh yeah, it's
Okay.
versus having a full-time employee where you've got to keep them busy whenever you don't need them. You've got two hands when you need it. You got one hand when you don't. So versus, look, just get out of my hair, go sweep the floor, go do something. Like I don't have time for you right now. It eliminates a lot of that. And so, and the other thing too is you're not getting you are getting quality help. You're not getting out there on a job and saying, all right, your right hand goes here, your left hand goes here. This is what this drill bit does. This is all right. Well, you put that in the wrong spot. It eliminates a lot of that. So you're getting other fab shop owners and operators and stuff that could do that job by themselves if they had to, or on their own. And so it's like I said, it's worked out great. A couple of years ago we had I had one customer. My name was referred to him to build this metal building, and because out here it's you kind of get known as the metal guy. So anytime somebody says, "Oh, I want such and such out of metal," they're like, "Oh, call Austin." And so I get a lot of metal buildings where it's like, look, I'm not a metal building guy, I'm not it's not what I do, but he wanted a metal building and I was the guy, he wasn't going to call anybody else. And I'm like, all right, let's talk, So he gives me the rundown of what he's wanting, and it's a camper storage building that's 45 feet wide and 275 feet long. And I'm like, all right, well, that's more than a one-man job. So I called pretty much all hands on deck. There was 4 shop owners that I included in it, and one of them had a helper. So all 4 of us came together, got the material, built this building in a week, and at the end of the job, everybody walked away with a decent payday. And job got done. I didn't have to hire employees and give them health insurance and put them on taxes and get workman's comp and all that. It was just, all right, I'm gonna be 1099 on you at the end of the year. And so as a business, it's like, oh, okay, I gotta pay taxes on it anyway. So I'm not trying to hide it from Uncle Sam, so it makes no difference to me. And then and so like I said, at the end of that job, it worked out great. But yeah, so me and Brad McKee, we've been working together, kind of a collaboration type deal, for probably about 5 years, 6 years now. Cool. And there's been times where we work the job out of his shop or work it out of my shop, and for about 2 years we were steady out of his shop 4 days a week, working on bigger jobs that he couldn't do by himself and I couldn't do by myself. And, it just kind of rolled from there. And then whenever the bigger jobs kind of dwindled down, I went back to my shop, he went back to his shop, and, hey, call me when the next one pops up.
That's awesome.
So, and then it's, I've always said that, competition happens at the bottom, collaboration happens at the top.
Yeah.
So he's 30 minutes away from me and does the same stuff that I do, has pretty much some of the same customers. Whenever you get somebody that looking for metal work on Facebook and somebody to build me a gate for my driveway, and you look at the list of people that got tagged, or that people, word of mouth type deal, they're referring them. Brad's on there, I'm on there, a handful of other guys that are on there. And it's like, all right, am I going to see them as competition, or am I going to see them as someone that I can call whenever I need a hand on a job?
Yeah.
And use them to my benefit. and at the same time, that they can use me to their benefit on a job that they need that they're doing. So
It's
it's one
funny
of kind
that
of
you
this.
say that because I literally just got a text from somebody who I do the same thing with, and he's like, "Hey,
Right.
sorry for the delay, boss." he,
Yeah,
he
right.
was sending me drawings for another thing because he doesn't have the time to do it. But it's funny that you say that because I literally just got a text with that.
Yep. Yep. So, but it's like I said, it's something that a lot of people see competition and everything, and it's like no,
There is
like
no
I,
competition.
I don't compete with anybody other than
Yeah,
myself, and
exactly.
and that's it, somebody that's that does what we do on the level that we do it.
Hmm.
It's like you can learn more from them, and they can learn more from you
Heck yeah.
than than if you kept to yourselves and kind of looked over the fence and said, "Oh, I don't know about them," or
Yeah.
look at what they're doing over, and acted as competition. So when you can collaborate with them and bounce ideas off of them, work with them on stuff that is, you know, if something's not in your bag of tricks, to where like something that comes to mind like cable railing. The first cable railing job that I did, I hit up Brad immediately and said, "Hey, dude, I got a guy that wants a cable railing. Where'd you buy the stuff from? Next time I'm over passing through town, I'm gonna swing in and show me what you do on cable railing
Hmm.
and just stuff like that. He's able to use this, don't use that. These are garbage. You know, it so it all works out to 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 your benefit if you
Yeah.
can get along with them.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to be got along with.
Oh, we all know those guys too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it pays to be friendly with everybody in the area. There
right,
are a lot of older guys around my shop who they're just like, all right, yeah, we'll just tolerate him, blah blah blah. But then there's also the younger guys who um, I've met a lot of guys actually through this podcast who are just like, you know, I call and then when I need something, I'm like, hey,
right,
I don't do this. This is in your wheelhouse. You just here's the number. Just give them a call. I don't even want anything to do with it. Don't even put any markup on it for me. Just here, just take it. And
right,
they do the
right.
same back. And you know, um, most of the time I have enough guys on my crew to take on most of the stuff that we do. I rarely ever bring anybody in. Um, I have, but it's just not something that I really. I if I need to bring some guy in, it's usually a job where we're kind of either understaffed or my shop guys just don't want to go out because I got a guy or two who just well really just one guy who just won't leave the shop. And
Yeah,
that's okay
yeah,
because
right,
that's his deal. He likes to be in the shop. So
yeah,
you just kind of make do with what you got, but it's always good to be friendly with everybody. Hey, I need a stick of this. I forgot to order it. Like, do you have it? Can I come pick it up? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
I don't have to
No,
wait
oh,
3 days until the next truck comes or drive an hour and a half up to the supplier and get it.
absolutely. Yeah. So most of what I do is in steel, and
Hmm.
so we would combine our aluminum orders because it was through a different vendor. So if I needed
Mm.
some aluminum, it was like, well, they're not going to deliver it to my shop because I'm outside of town. Brad's in town. They deliver it to him that day because they're 15 minutes across town from him. So, hey, Brad, when's the next time you order an aluminum? I got to make an order for a job tomorrow or something. All right, toss this in and I'll, kick you some cash or whatever it costs.
Yeah.
Um, so, like I said, being able to do that. And I've had people, another guy down the road, he, you know, working weekend on a job trying to get it done and needed a stick of tubing. And, I've got some stock material here, to where he hit me up and said, hey, you got this size? Yeah, I got 3 sticks of it. Come get one if you need it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, just like I said, making friends instead of enemies is going to get you way further than
Heck yeah.
than butting heads and being competition to each other.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so that's pretty much where I've pushed the envelope with the guys around here. Was like, hey, look, we need to be friends first, and business will follow suit.
Yep.
If me and you can get along and we're friends with each other and stuff, I'm going to look out for your best interest. You're going to look out for my best interest,
Mm-hmm.
and our business dealings are going to reflect that. You know,
Yeah.
if you value the friendship, then business wise, you're not going to screw me.
Yep.
And so, you so yeah, that's where we all kind of agree on it and everything else. So, and even on the jobs that we do run and everything, it's, being transparent with each other as far as, hey, look, this is what I sold it for. This is what I had into it. This is what you got into it. And, here it is. Here's the numbers, and we're splitting it in half. There's no, kind of shady business going on,
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, being transparent and just being, valuing the friendship before the business, it'll all fall in line.
Yeah.
So,
So where do you get most of your work? Do you do any sort of advertising, or is it just all word of mouth, or how does that come about?
it's all word of mouth. The only advertising that I do is my truck. um,
It's a sweet truck.
so yeah, yeah. So all right. So that all came about because I was either going to build a trailer for my welding machine and tools, or just buy another truck to keep my welding machine on. And so I was in the market for, F450s, 550s, and all that. Marketplace kind of, it pops up on your search or whatever. Anything that's listed as 450, 550, and all that. So there's, 1959 GMC 550 pops up, and so it's like, oh, that would make a sweet welding truck. And so I sent the link to a buddy of mine and said, hey, you want to go get this? He was like, are you serious? He was like, man, you gonna build a bed for that? Like, that dude, no, don't do that. That's not gonna be reliable. Like, we'll go look at it, but like, I don't know. That thing's got Lambo doors on it. Like, how practical can that thing be? So ended up buying it, and built my welding truck and everything. And so whenever I come through town, that's pretty much about it. It turns heads, and it's kind of gotten to where it's well known around the area. And turns out that's about the best advertisement that I could get, because 100% of my customers are local, right?
Mm.
I'm not trying to sell nothing online. I'm not, basically I get in with a couple general contractors to build railings and whatever else in new construction houses. And anybody that's wanting to, build a driveway gate for their house, or, have something that, piece of equipment or something that needs to be fixed or welded.
Mm-hmm.
I'm basically the guy that, in the area that can do it.
Yeah.
And so when you drive through town in an old, loud truck that draws the attention that it does, you get known as the metal guy pretty quick.
Yeah, I bet.
And yeah, and so and even just using it for Christmas parades and Mardi Gras parades and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then and when I am out on a job working out of it and everything, it turns heads, and gets a lot of people, gets a lot of looks. So,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
bet it does.
that's the only form of advertisement that I do.
So, what has been, in your 7-ish years of business, what's been the hardest thing for you to learn?
hardest part would probably be when to say no,
Okay.
when to turn down a job.
Okay.
So, I've kind of always been a yes man. You know, here's a problem. All right, I can solve it. It's just let me figure it out. Give me time. Give me whatever resources available. I'll figure it out. Not every customer is your customer.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing when to send them somebody else's way, and when to say no, when to turn down a job. That's probably been about the hardest thing for me to learn. And
Okay.
some of it is customer's fault. Some of it's my fault. not wanting to dive, not wanting to dive off into something new.
Yeah.
Some of it being like blacksmith type work. Like if I had one gate. Guy shows me a picture of it. Oh, my brother-in-law in Europe built this gate. He's a self-taught blacksmith and blah 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 blah. And I've got I want the same gate in my driveway. And I'm like, all right, doesn't look too hard. I'll give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And did it, and back and forth, and he did this, and I want to change that, and I had already given him a price on it, and I'm trying to kind of coach him through, like, hey, look, if you make these changes, it's going to cost more. Like, it's going to
Sure.
change my price. Like, I can do this and it not affect the price, but we go to changing that, and then he was just, well, you told me this much, and I was like, oh man, let's should have turned this around. When I saw the whole, this is handmade, and it's not my forte, and it was something new for me. Probably should have turned this one down.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we've all been
but
there.
right, so at the end of that job, it was like, oh, I didn't make as much money off of it as what I anticipated, but ended up making the customer happy. We kind of had a compromise on some things, and he was happy with what he got, and the check cleared, and it's all good, and have a nice day.
Oh man,
So,
I had this job one time. It was they built these curved rails. So you walk into this beautiful house, and the curved rails go up either side, and they've got all the scrolls and everything like that. And the guy who did it just did a terrible job. Like
yeah.
he made his own scrolls. Okay, got it. But dude, there's he MIG welded everything, and there's wires still hanging out, and there's ones that aren't even
Oh,
welded, and the welds just look terrible, and they're not blended at all. And I just walked through this entire this staircase. I'm like, holy cow! How did somebody be like,
get by with this.
thumbs up,
Yeah.
good to go, give me my money, I'm out of here? How did they do this? So this guy calls us and he says, hey, I need you to fix this, come on in here. And keep in mind, this house is finished,
Right.
finished.
Oh,
This house, I mean, he had imported tile from Italy, marble from Italy. The walls have freaking trim on them.
right.
It was an over the top house. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. We'll come in here. I think, I don't even know. I think we could get it done in a week. I was like, we'll come in here, we'll tape off the walls, we'll do this, we'll do that, cover all the floors. Man, we were there for 2.5 weeks. And I gave this guy a price. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to ever do this again. Ever do this again. And then when he realized, I told him I'd be there, we got 7 working days there. And, a week of work, a day to mobilize, a day to demobilize. And 2.5 weeks in, when I'm finally done, I'm just like, I'm over this. And he's like, oh, do you want to build this? I'm like, no, I don't. I don't want to build that for you. I'm sorry. Because he was kind of a pain too. Because we had to go
Yeah.
out and we had to set up like he's like, I don't like the smell of this. I'm like, bro, we're doing metalwork in your house. Like, what?
Yeah.
I know you don't like the smell of it, but like, that's what. Like, would you like me to remove these rails? It's going to be that
Right.
much more. Well, it's bothering my wife. Okay, let's set up like a temp wall with like there's pole jacks and tarps and like tape it off and run exhaust fan bigger. We already had exhaust fans. We had more exhaust fans. Man, it was just a pain. Like he paid me at the end, and I was just like, I'm never doing this again. And then I
So
thought about it. I'm like, I'll do it again. I'm just gonna charge way more, way more. I'm gonna triple what I think it should take. I'm gonna triple it. I just am. But yeah, I've been there
yeah,
too.
that's those one and done customers. Do
Yeah,
one job
yeah.
for you and I'm done. Yeah, yeah. I had now that you mentioned, I had that one Juliet balcony that customer brought in, and it was through a contractor, so I wasn't dealing directly with the homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
And they bring me this arched Juliet balcony, like a little false balcony that goes on the second story window outside, right? Scrolls were just god awful scrolls that he used. There was hand bent type deal. It was an arch shape, but he cut the arch out of expanded metal with a matabo, so it wasn't a perfect semicircle. It was tacked and just gobber snot welds on it and wire sticking out. It was bad. It was. I even made a video and posted it on the CNC group, and it was like, if anybody does this type of work, like I I will come to wherever you're at, and you will get a personal either butt whooping or I'm gonna at least show you how to cut a straight line. Like
Yeah,
this is not the type of work that anybody needs to be selling
yeah.
to a customer, So then I found out how much he charged for it. And it was like $4,500 for this little 3 foot by not even 1 foot wide
Oh.
false balcony thing. And then even like when it went up against a window, it would have had a flat bar across the span of the window. So
Mm-hmm.
you would look out the window and see this bar going across the window. So it was like, dude, this guy had no plan on anything.
Yeah.
So I told the contractor, I was like, look, I'm just not even touching this. I'll start from scratch. And if the customer will buy off on a square Juliet balcony to where it's not arched, it would make my job a lot easier to where I don't have to use these radius pickets or scroll work stuff like that. I can make it roll a little bit faster and everything, and this would be my price on it.
Mm-hmm.
Even gave them a drawing and a rendering of it, what it would look like, and everything else. And contractor hit me back, do whatever you think. Customer's good. I said okay. Built it, had it powder coated, delivered it. Customer looks at it, says, "Oh no, that's not what I wanted. I wanted it. I wanted it radius. I didn't say it was okay to make it square." And what happened to the other one? I was like, it's at my shop. It's on top of the scrap pile. And they were like, well, I want the other one back. And I'm like, are you sure? Like it's bad. They're like, oh no, just send that one to the powder coat shop, and we want that one instead. And it's like, all right, I guess I'll send it to the powder coat shop, and then
Oh man.
and yeah, so I was in that subdivision doing work, doing another handrail job, and passed by that house, and I was like, God, I want to see rust streaking down, in between welds, pieces of metal where they didn't weld it completely, and
Oh, just
it's
give it
impossible.
time.
Like, oh, I want to see that thing like falling off the house, like something. And yeah, but from 40 feet away from the street, it looks okay, but as soon as you walk up to it, it's like, man, this thing is just terrible.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
one of the issues I had on that job that I was telling you about was the guy hand bent the scrolls.
right,
So
right. Like
I was like,
probably
you know
the
what?
mask.
I didn't know they were hand bent. I'm like, King Metals, I'll order scrolls and it'll be done. Because I had to like take scrolls out and like so the railing came down and at the very bottom it had like like a I don't know a 9 or a 10 inch radius at the bottom
Yeah,
where it curves out, but that was also all scrolls. So you had to take the scrolls and you had to bend them to that radius. And I'm like, no big deal. I'll just hit them with the press brake just to bend them to the radius. No, I had to actually and the scrolls were off enough where I couldn't just take King Metal scrolls and fudge it. I had to
right.
like I had to make my own scrolls that looked like his. So I had to cut the scrolls out. I actually took a picture of them. I scaled it out and use it as a background in Fusion 360. I made my own welding, I plastic cut out my own jig according to his scrolls and had to rebend all the scrolls to his, and it had to be like a drop down jig. So like you bend half of it and then you drop it down and then you bend the other half of it and then pull it out because you couldn't just make it all in one and
Yeah,
but and then yeah and it was thick enough where I couldn't just bend it by hand because it would just you couldn't get the tightest radius, so I had to like make my own little forge to like stick it in, and it was just oh my gosh,
just a night.
it was a nightmare, man. And like
Yeah,
to make scrolls and to make them to fill in nicely, and it was just anyway, yeah, it
so
was
yeah.
I'm going to
One of those
scrutinize those
jobs
jobs
you
a
get
lot harder next time.
right, right. Little foresight on some of this type
Oh
stuff.
my gosh. It's
Yeah.
funny cuz
So
I'd really like to make a I want to find a way which actually what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to start a newsletter for guys to tell their stories of these massively terrible jobs of how they went of how they
yeah,
went wrong.
what's your nightmare job?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like, dude, we've all got that nightmare job. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
Yeah. So like, I want to hear about it, and I want to put it out so other guys can hear about it too.
oh
So
yeah.
I think that's going to be on my horizon for this year. Is just
And
to
I
make some sort of like newsletter or some sort of video newsletter of just tell me the nightmare story and walk me through the process of like how this job went so terribly bad.
oh yeah, how it went awry. Oh, and on the same house. This was the other thing too. On the same house, the same other guy, other shop that built the Juliet balcony had built a door,
Hmm.
and the front door to this house was supposed to have glass in behind the scroll work and all the ornamental stuff, but they didn't make the frame of the door wide enough to put the glass on there. And so there was no possible way to put glass on this door, right? And and then they didn't put a threshold on the door. So there would have been a 1 inch air gap underneath this front door. There was no possible way of sealing this front door off so that the air condition doesn't get out of the house.
Yeah.
And it was just like, dude, what was this guy thinking? Like he was just building a garden gate, that you know.
Let the snakes and
So
critters in. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm like, this is ridiculous. And so, the contractor had me cut that door apart, salvage whatever scroll work I could salvage out of it, and rebuild this door.
Hmm.
And so did everything, and everything's great. Here's how the glass goes in. Get the glass company to cut the glass to this size, and it sandwiches in between these pieces, and it basically bolts in. And everything was great, and then they said, "Well, we're going to change it up and put flooring in the house." And all of a sudden, the threshold that I made was a little too short, so the door drugged just a little bit. And when you
uh,
weld those hinges on, there's no adjustment in it, so it's like
yeah.
Well, what happened to stained concrete? Because you don't have to account for floor thickness,
Y- Yeah.
in that case. But now that they changed it up and they put this plank flooring in, now it's half inch up or something like that. So it's like, oh man. So
Yeah.
that whole between that contractor, I don't think I talk to him anymore. So, so but yeah, it's
Awesome.
man, and there's some jobs where it's like it's a nightmare at the moment, but looking back at it, it's like, that was pretty fun,
Yeah. Some of
We
them.
had some of them, man. So back when I was doing some stuff on the side, me and another guy, he was trying to get into metal buildings and all that, so I would give him a hand with it. And we were putting a roof on this lean-to that we had built, a metal roof. And so it's just me and him doing it. We're working, started on I think I took 2 days off of work to do that job. Started on a Thursday. We worked Thursday and Friday. We're finishing up Saturday night, I think. And we're trying to beat the rain, screwing sheets of tin down, and all of a sudden this rainstorm comes through, and we're trying to square this all the metal on the roof, trying to square it all up. So we've only got just a couple screws holding these sheets down, and this monsoon comes through, and it ends up with me and him like standing on a pile of sheets of tin, like holding it down, just getting hammered by the rain. And man, my boots are filling up with water, and it's just miserable. And but me and him still talk about that and laugh about it and stuff like that. Like, man, that was the crappiest job. We could have lost 15 sheets of tin in the wind
hmm
if we wouldn't have just sucked it up and held the tin down on the roof while it was raining.
So, I know you've got you value your family time pretty well, and you have your shop at your house. What
Right.
is your how do you juggle your business and your family time, and like what is your biggest struggle with that?
Oh man, that one. So the good part about it is like I said, my shop being in the backyard. So that's kind of the advantage that I have, is just being able to shut down whenever
hmm
and walk across the yard and back to the house. Um, so and then when the kids get home from school, they're kind of in and out of the shop, running around. So even while I'm working, I can kind of tailor what I'm doing in the shop to, if they're running in and out, I'm not going to be throwing a bunch of sparks everywhere and
hmm
you posing a potential danger for them if they do pop in and run around. So I'll kind of tend to do more computer work or drawing or layout, that type of work, to where if they do start running in here and start shooting me with Nerf guns, they're not they're not going to get arc flash or something. um, so that's the good part about it, is you can kind of mesh the two times together and not be, well, the kids are off the bus, let me shut down and close the doors up.
hmm
So, and then they can see a little bit of what I do as far as, daddy's working on this, or, um, and just see what I'm building, what I'm working on and stuff like that. Um, and so, but yeah, it's about 6.5 days a week that I work in the shop.
hmm
So other than that, it's, when I'm done for the day and shut down, it's, I'm not far away. So it's not like I have a big commute
hmm
to come home to, or, a long drive home or anything like that. Um,
Do you typically
so yeah,
like break it up into uh like long days with with breaks in between, or do you just try to like knock out your work and get it done so that you can have like dinner time comes and you're off, or how does that what does that look like for you?
so I'm big on getting to stopping points.
Mm.
So instead of working my day by the clock, I work it by the task, I guess.
Yeah.
So if I can get all the pieces cut for this gate, you know, once after I get all the pieces cut for this gate, then I'll be done and I can have them all lined up ready to do the next part of the job tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a good time to shut down. No matter what, no matter what the clock says. So, and if I'm in the middle of welding something, it's like, all right, once I get to a stopping point, then I'll shut down. Or, like I said, just getting to a stopping point is more of a priority than shutting down at a certain time.
Yeah.
So, and some days it's, hey, we've got something on the schedule to where we've got to do this at a certain time, or we've got, I need you to, watch the baby while I go to a doctor's appointment at this time. Then, yeah, I'll, of course, do stuff that way. But just a regular day, it's, shut down when I get to a stopping point.
Mm-hmm.
And, not starting on something else is something that I've got to force myself to do, because there's always
by
something
your ADD personal projects.
Right, yeah. And then, so.
We all got those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What do you, what's one thing you wish you knew before you started out?
It probably would have been my shop layout.
Okay.
So when I was still, doing working a day job and everything was part time, my shop layout. So let me back up. So my shop layout would probably be a whole lot different if I would have paid more attention to it in the beginning.
Okay.
So originally my shop was supposed to be in a barn dominium, and then whenever I got, so then whenever I got into, my side work picking up more, it's like, whoa, man, I'm going to have to work out of this shop, not live out of it. So
yeah,
how am I going to arrange this thing to make, workflow make sense,
Mm-hmm.
And, so one of the things is the, just the, how my shop is laid out. I would have laid it out a whole lot differently if I would have had the intention of working out of the shop instead of, living out of it.
Mm.
So that would probably be the biggest thing that I would end up, that I would change from the get go. That would make my life a lot easier right now.
Sure.
And so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think is one thing you learned the hard way?
I think I learned everything the hard way. There's not a whole lot of easy lessons to learn.
Yeah.
It's you're gonna mess things up before you get it right. So.
Do you listen to any books or podcasts or anything like that on business?
I listened to a guy named oh shoot, what's his name? Kevin Johnson, I want to say was his name. Yeah. So I listened to this podcast called Welding Business Owners, and the other one's Joe Rogan. So that's about it.
All right. Well, I'm honored.
Yeah. You're right up there with Joe Rogan. You oughta pat yourself on the back there, bud.
That's awesome.
So, but I have listened to a couple audiobooks. I think Profit First. I mean, it wasn't that great. I mean, nothing. So my mom taught me a ton of just financial wisdom at an early age.
Okay.
So when I started listening to like Dave Ramsey and Profit First, it's like, man, that's common sense. I learned that when I was a kid, and then so a lot of that, I listened to some of those, and then it's like, all right, I'm just listening to my mom talk, So it's like, pay your credit cards off every month. It's like, all right, yes, mom. So, but yeah, so.
What uh what's your favorite tool in your shop?
Oh man, I'm gonna get ragged on Facebook if I don't say it's my CNC plasma table. You know, if I say anything else, the plasma guys are gonna have my hide. You know? So so probably my favorite, like I said, will be the plasma table. I mean, that's really what kind of what started it all.
Mm-hmm.
Even when in college, whenever I was in industrial technology and I was in the robotics lab working with 4-axis milling machines and stuff like that. Um, I always told the guys there, some of the other students that, hey man, if I ever win the lottery, I'm buying one of these. Like this little turning center, this 4-axis milling machine is like I'll spend $100,000 on that thing just to have it. And so that's kind of what started it all. And then whenever I started working with as a draftsman running the CNC machines, it was like the more I got into it, it's like I'm pretty much not gonna be without a CNC plasma table ever, or laser, or some sort of CNC machine. I'm gonna have one whether I'm doing this as a business or not. Like, so that's kind of where where it fell there. So it's I'd say that's my favorite one.
Are you still running the same plasma table that you built, or did you upgrade to another one?
No, I actually upgraded. So the table that I built, it's kind of a lot of the Torchmate guys know it as the Franken table because it was a Torchmate. I bought a Torchmate table from a guy in Ireland that was on the Facebook group, and he was selling his Torchmate T3 table, and I bought everything off of that table except for the table itself. So the motors, the controller, everything that bolted onto the table, he unbolted, boxed it all up, and shipped it to me.
Wow.
So I had basically I built the table frame and took all the other Torchmate stuff and bolted it all on there. And some stuff where Torchmate, the problems that those models had, I was able to kind of reconfigure the belt reduction, uh, on the side of it, the drives, and kind of eliminate some problems that Torchmate had with that design. And so I ended up running that table for I think 2 years, and I ran across a used Star Lab table. The guy started a little trinket business out of his one-car garage and was gonna cut and sell little farmers market signs and metal art and stuff like that, right? He got into it, bought a Star Lab, bought the air compressor, had everything packed into this little one-car garage to where he had just enough room to walk around the table, and that was it. And 10 months later, he said, you know what? This ain't for me. Let me sell everything I bought. So the table was a year old, and he took a pretty heavy hit on it because I didn't, I kind of hit him at the knees. I was like, hey, look, I'll give you 14 for it, and I know you spent 25 on it, but I got 14 right now. I'll be there this weekend. Come get it. So I got a year-old table for a pretty good deal, and so I ended up at the time it was before I added on to my shop. I didn't have room for 2 tables, and so I put mine up for sale, and a guy out of Texas bought it, and he's still running it. I still keep in touch with him and everything else. And it's still got dirt road written on it, cut out on the sides of it and everything else. But yeah, I had to, it was one thing that I had to do because I needed to be able to set the table, walk away from it, and go do something else. And the table that I built, it was great, but like it didn't have any limit switches on it. So if you didn't zero it in the right corner, it would just run smooth off the table. The gantry would end up in the wall or on the floor or something like that. There wasn't nothing
Yeah.
stopping it. So and then but yeah, that Star Lab, it's been holding in there strong. I think I've been running it 5 years now, and then and so it's taking everything that I've thrown at it,
That's
and
awesome.
so
Nice. That sounds kind of like how I got my plasma table. The guy I got mine off of, he was in, I think he was in North Carolina, and he bought a brand new JD squared Mad 5x10. He had a Hypertherm 65 on it. He was building custom barbecues, and he had about what was it? Maybe like 6 hours of runtime on it in like 2 years. And I had just posted in the JD Squared Facebook page. I'm like, hey, looking to pull. The next day, I was going to put a deposit on a brand new one. And I was asking a question. I don't even remember what the question was. And this guy, he said, hey, if you didn't put your deposit yet, I got a 5x10 I'm selling. I'm like, oh, really? No way. Tell me more. So a week later, I'm driving down to North Carolina. He had a brand new Hypertherm. So they took the 65 and put it in their shop, or some other guy put it in the shop, and he bought a brand new 85 for it. Still in box. Never took it out. Threw that in with the table and everything like that. He took a pretty hefty. I think he took an $8,000 hit on that machine and everything.
yeah.
$8 or $10,000. And I was like, that's my kind of deal. I'm cool with that, man.
Yeah.
Here's $1,000. Hold it for me. I'll be down Thursday.
Yeah. I've done that a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, man. Like used plasma tables, like you'd expect them to hold their value, but it's like, you try to sell a plasma table, it's like, all right, what's wrong with it? Just
Right.
immediate skepticism, like, oh, it's a lemon, like it's got a mind of its own. It's gonna, you'll never be able to figure it out and use it, So it's
Yeah.
immediate, just a drop in value to where it's like, man, it's a hard sell to get one if you buy one brand new and it's like, I just never used it. It's a year old. Give me what I paid for it. It's like, yeah, nah.
That's not how this
So
works. You're new
not
here,
how
aren't
this
you?
works. Like you're gonna lose your pants on this one.
Yes, you are.
So yeah, when it comes to plasma tables, it's like, man, the only way you get your money's worth out of it is to use it.
Use
Like
it.
it's, it's a tool, you know. So,
Well, speaking of
but
tools,
yeah.
what is one tool that you should probably sell?
Ooh, probably one of about 9 welding machines that I don't need. Probably you probably pick out any of the TIG machines that I got around here and say, you're not earning your keep. You might as well
Yeah.
go. But when I do need them, it's So
Kind of nice.
kind of nice to have that little 13-pound Max Star that you can throw on your shoulder and weld, off of a ladder with. But you don't need it. But
Yeah.
So other than that, man, probably a couple little scroll benders that I bought, kind of on just
It's the whim.
that looks cool. Let's try that, and then use it once, and it's like it's a lot easier to turn that CNC machine on and cut out a scroll that fits a certain area instead of trying to burn up a whole stick of flat bar just for one little decorative scroll.
Sure.
So
What so I want to how did the Facebook groups that you run come about? Like tell me about how that started out and how that's going.
oh man. kind of hoping you wouldn't ask about that. We could go on for another hour about about that. So Uncensored is kind of the the pretty much both of my Facebook groups that I have start end with Uncensored, and so it came about because I was really active in the first CNC plasma tips and tricks, and so that was back whenever I was working back when I had a real time job and I could get away with playing on Facebook throughout the day. So just, being active on there and getting to know a lot of the guys, seeing some of the work that they were doing that was less industrial in nature. So the guys that were doing business signs and LED signs and just layered stuff, just seeing them post their work on that and then just interacting with them, communicating with them, seeing how they did it. So that I did a lot of that on the regular CNC page. Then it got to be a little political, a little too political when it came to the table manufacturers. So like the table manufacturers they were using the group as advertisement, so to say. And then there was one of them in particular that would delete a lot of negative reviews about their table, and they would kind of keep a lot of that kind of hush hush. They would censor the content of the group, right?
Sure.
So me and a bunch of other guys that had got to know each other, we did nothing but just get on there and horse around about it, like make up conspiracy theories and say, oh, somebody's in somebody else's pocket. Like somebody's getting some frog skins on this and getting paid to delete so and so's negative review on this table.
Yeah.
And so and so has this problem, and then this other guy that has the same table has the same problems, but the table manufacturer is kind of denying it. And, that's just their setup. They did something wrong, and then they would have other guys on there that would make posts about this table, X brand table has made me so much money this year. This is my red Ferrari that it bought me. And it's like, hold up. Like, oh, this table's so great. It made me so much money. You should buy this table. Like, just the obvious, just sales pitch. Like,
yeah.
Hold on. Somebody.
Bro, we're in the same business, okay?
Somebody paying you to say this. Like, and then, and like I said, whether they did or not, well, I have no clue. Like, we made up a lot of crap. Like, saying that, oh, so and so is paying them. Like, this is a big, conspiracy type deal. Just messing around, And one night we were making memes and stuff, and it got carried on. And one night, one of the admins on that group, Curtis Herman, respect the dude. He's a really knowledgeable guy.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to him about water jets a lot and stuff like that. Just really, really good guy. He came through there swinging the band hammer, son. Everybody that was joking around horsing, he just booted everybody. And so all the class clowns that we had that was, ragging on a particular brand and everything, he just went through and wiped, just cleaned house. And, myself included. So next thing I know, I get invited, or I'm made an admin of this new group called CNC Plasma Tips and Tricks Uncensored. So, basically, so we started that group with just, I don't know, it was like 15 or 20 of us that got kicked out at that, that one night.
Yeah.
And they had legitimate complaints about, their table and everything. And, so, so it was just, 15 or 20 of us. And so they used that group to just say, hey, look, just speak freely.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what problems are you having? Stuff like that. And then, just comparing notes from, your table, my table, what's yours do and this, run this file, let's see what it does here. And, so we, whereas if we did that in the other group, it would get deleted,
Mm-hmm.
because it looked bad on that brand of table that you were having problems. So we started that group as just uncensored to where, we didn't have to worry about an admin deleting, bad reviews or something that looked bad on, a particular brand.
Yeah.
And, so like I said, that's where the uncensored part came from. And then we would just say, well, just screw it, and I had so many private messages from people that were active in the other group that didn't get kicked out. And, they were like, man, I heard y'all, started another group and I don't see it anywhere. So I went ahead and made it public. And then next thing I know, I had like 4,000, member invites, like within a couple days. So it was like, oh man, what the crap? So I, then come to find out, it was like so many people jumped ship from the other group because they had a problem with their table and
Yeah.
their post got removed because it looked bad on that table manufacturer. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was just like, all right, well, kind of need a space to just speak freely, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, just. And so there was only one or two other groups on there that, didn't mind if you spoke negatively or positively about a particular table manufacturer. And, so it was like, all right, well, this is our playground. We make the rules. So I don't care if you, speak good or bad about a table manufacturer. Like I don't have anything to gain off of it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not paying me. Like if they was, like, I'd be a lot better off. I'd have a new welding machine or something, Yeah, I'd have their brand table in my shop. But, but yeah, so that's basically just how it started, was just, just having a space to, just,
You just got kicked out and had to make your own
just
group.
not, yeah, right. And, no shade on Curtis. I mean, like I said, I still talk to him and everything, but it's like, man, you kicked me out. Like, you started this.
How did
So,
that? How did the
but,
handrail one come about?
because the, CNC group would have a handrail related question every other day. And
Mm,
somebody said, you know what, there needs to be another group for this.
yeah,
And, this isn't plasma related or whatever. And, but a lot of guys that have plasma tables in their shop are
do similar
building
work.
handrails, building gates, and they're in that type of, they do that type of work.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, all right, well, somebody had commented about it, saying, hey, there just needs to be another group for this. So one night I was like, all right, well, made the group and said, hey, you want to be an admin? Well, no, I don't want to be an admin. I wanted you to be the admin. It was like, oh man, now I got another one to do.
That's funny.
So
I got in on the handrail group at about 2,000 or 3,000 members, and I'm like, man, these are my people here. These are my
yeah,
people. Like this is the group I've been looking for, And then now,
right.
what, 20 something, 30,000 something members later, I'm like, dang, like, guess a lot of other
Yeah,
people make handrails too.
where'd my people go? Yeah,
They're just
yeah. So
lost
that,
in the fray of everything.
right. Yeah, so it's, but like I said, having that, and having a core group of guys that are, kind of stem from that group,
Mm-hmm.
that you can call on. Because I've talked to some of those guys. Man, starting out, I hit up Dan Menerick. Man, I hit him up about all kinds of stuff on handrails because I knew him from that bigger group. And had it not been from that bigger group and him showing his work and posting it, stuff like that, I don't, would have never met him or anything like that, through Facebook. And man, we still keep in touch, and even some of the guys like uh, Cameron Mayer. I mean, he's out in New Mexico, and I've met him in person twice, and at Fab Tech and one of the other Fence Tech was another
Mm.
one. So but I've messaged him back and forth over the past, I don't know, 10 years. So it's like, just getting to know them people, making that connection with them, and just them being there for whenever you need a question
Heck yeah.
answered. And like I said, just that networking part of it is
Yeah.
kind of invaluable if you're active in it.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys that are
Absolutely.
just window shopping and inactive, just kind of scrolling through, and I might not get much out of it.
Sure.
But so
So you said you've been to Fab Tech and Fence Tech. How does Fence Tech? So I've seen that, and I've never made the commitment to go, but I go to Fab Tech every year. How does Fence Tech hold up to, what's it like? Is it worth it? Did you find value out of it? Talk to me about that.
so my dad joke was on Facebook was Fence Tech is like Fab Tech with more boundaries. Yeah, but so Fence Tech was all right. So whereas Fab Tech is more you going and looking and buying machines,
Mm-hmm.
Fence Tech is more you going and looking and shopping for vendors.
Okay.
So there was a lot of, I mean, they had machine sales and stuff. So if you were looking to buy, some of them were doing, one of the odd ones that I saw was routers, CNC router for vinyl fencing.
Hmm.
So that was, and there was a lot of vinyl stuff, vinyl fencing and everything there. Um, that was kind of new to me as far as, it's not metal, it's not steel or aluminum. It's you kind of your third option, Um, and so they have machines there that routed vinyl and everything. All right, so they had other fencing equipment that the manufacturers were selling and all that. They had chain link fence type stuff, barbed wire fence, just things of that type nature. Biggest thing for me was finding like king metals,
Mm-hmm.
the pre-made scrolls, architect, ornamental type Chinese forged vendors, Um, so there's a few of them that sold scrolls and ornamental type stuff.
Okay.
I think D&D Technologies was there as well. So they had their whole line of gate hinges and everything that you can pick up, touch, feel, kind of shop around.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was, wasn't bad to go to. It's not a, not a 3 day Fab Tech type deal. It was good to
Okay.
kick around for a day, see what's out there, and after 4 or 5 hours, you saw everything there was, that you could see.
Gotcha.
Fab Tech was more like, kind of compare it, Dollar General to Walmart. You can see everything in Dollar General for 30 minutes, but
Yeah.
you can wander around Walmart for an hour.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Fab Tech, you can spend a few days there
Yeah.
and still not see everything.
You need to spend days there in order to see
Right,
everything.
right, right.
Yeah.
And, so yeah, it was neat going to see both of them.
Yeah.
I think Fab Tech, I went pre-COVID. I think the year before COVID
Mm-hmm.
in Atlanta, and I knew a couple of guys from the CNC group, and I think I met up with Bob Kovacs, and then Cameron Mayer, a couple other guys, and then
Cool.
just shook hands with them, hung around for a little while, and then took a look at everything and all that. I didn't go to any of the after party stuff. Um, that year I had the wife and kids with me, so when I was done at Fab Tech, I went back to the hotel room and picked
Sure.
up supper, hung out with them and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think 2020 was the year that they were going to do it in Vegas, and I wanted to go to that
Mm-hmm.
and just to hit up some of the other stuff there. And they ended up pushing it off, and think they went to Chicago next,
Yep. It was
and
Chicago and it was
yeah,
Chicago
because they
and
skipped
Atlanta
Vegas
back and forth.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was supposed to have been like like I said, they instead of like making 21 back to Vegas, they just skipped Vegas
Skipped it all
altogether. So
together. I hear it's not
so
even going
yeah,
back to Vegas. I hear
really,
it's Florida now. I hear it's Orlando,
no,
Florida. I think Vegas signed a 10-year deal with with Formula One, and they're no longer gonna host it out there. So,
gotcha.
yep. But awesome, man. Well, I hope to
Yeah,
see you out there,
yeah,
out at FabTech sometime soon.
yeah. So after that, of course, Chicago. I'm not a little far north for me. Didn't really want to go to Chicago, so I just sat it out that year.
Hmm.
And but yeah, like I said, I wouldn't mind going, but it's I'm not really going to buy anything or look at upgrading anything. So it's more or less just social visit for me.
Yeah, that, I feel like that's all I do. I do now too. I know what I have to
Yeah,
buy.
well,
I don't really need much. I go to hang out with my internet friends.
right. Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, you're gonna have to push the Fabricator Olympics there, huh?
Oh yeah, man. We're doing it again
Yeah,
this year. I think we're looking at middle of October this year. So
really.
it's gonna be like a
Okay.
month after FabTech. I think it's we haven't nailed down an exact date on it because we have a couple places that we're in between of where we're gonna hold it. So we have to nail that down and then we'll be good to go with that. But yeah, this year we're gonna have the welding rig truck show. We've got it's just gonna be bigger and better this year. We're gonna put the whole thing under roof this year because trying to work around rain and that's just really screwed us for the last 2 years. It just throws a wrench in everything. So we're just trying to be completely under roof this year. So
Yeah.
nothing outside other than the truck show. And yeah, we've got some we're gonna be switch up the games. We've been talking about doing some sort of art competition there too, where you just get a pile of stuff. Everybody gets the same pile of stuff, and then everyone just you've got a couple hours just to make something of it. And that's been an idea that's tossed around. So we'll see how that goes. And yeah, man, it's gonna be awesome. So
Yeah. I must say, I turned my scrap pile into a bigger scrap pile.
you gonna be coming up this year?
I, we'll try. So, it, 'cause I
That's
know
all I can ask for.
I say I try because I know I'm gonna want to drive my truck there
Yeah,
just for the welding competition.
yeah.
But I don't think I'm gonna make it that far. I got the trailer there because
Find somebody
driving.
else who's driving up and just throw it on their trailer.
Yeah, I say driving 55 on the interstate. Makes for a long trip, about
You're gonna have
14
to leave
hours.
pretty early for that.
So, but yeah, if I do fly up, I'd probably end up doing that
Cool.
before I drive all that way.
Oh, heck
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, y'all were in Bethlehem,
Yep.
Pennsylvania
Yep.
last.
Yep.
You're gonna try to get up there again?
Yeah,
Or not?
it's going to be in the vicinity of within an hour of here.
Okay.
To be quite honest, my eventual goal is to have it at the old Bethlehem steel plant, where
Yeah,
they've turned it into a casino and a big venue and everything like that, and you know, to get a spot in there is not cheap. It's not cheap at all. But I think it would just be so freaking cool to have the Fabricator Olympics at the original Bethlehem Steel. Like
yeah.
how iconic and awesome would that
Uh,
be? So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, so it's not going to be there this year, but yeah, that's on that's the eventual horizon. On top of taking it on the road, different places throughout the country. I really want to do that. So we'll but yeah, this year we're honing down and fine tuning all of our standard operating procedures and making this thing just run like a well-oiled machine before we take it on the road. So
That's good. I've seen Lincoln stepped up a lot with what they offer too.
yeah.
One of the posts that you made on Instagram, just seeing pallets of stuff for it. Like, oh man,
Lincoln has
uh,
been like it wouldn't be anywhere near what it is without Lincoln, and they've
yeah,
given us everything that we could ever ask for, and we're going to be asking for more this year because we're just growing this thing.
yeah,
And they've been awesome, and it's just we're super happy to have them on board. We've got some other really great vendors and sponsors this year. We had Walter Abrasives, and we had Jocko Energy and Origin Clothing, and Wilson Products is a local vendor to
Mm,
us, and they were just, you know, man, if without Aaron, I couldn't have done half the stuff I did with the introductions of to Hypertherm and things like that. So I'm super stoked for it this year. I really am.
yeah. I must say somebody's gonna have to knock Scotty off his pedestal there.
Yes,
He
yeah,
was
yeah.
that 2 years in a row. I think he might be greasing some palms over there to get 2 years in a row. He might
Well,
be
so what we're doing is every year that you win,
he
you
might he
can't.
might be slipping some judges a little cash on the side. I'm just
No,
saying
so
that's
no, what he's been doing is he exploited some of the weaknesses we've had in our judging, and what I
uh,
realized is that the time penalty points were not great enough in for the distance out. Like you got to be square, and then every
right,
16th of
right,
an inch that you're out, or yeah, every 16th of an inch out, it was a 10-second time penalty. Well, you can make it pretty darn close, and
quick, yeah,
and if it's only a 10-second time penalty, it's not that big of a deal. So this year, his square box, it was close, but it wasn't dead on. And I realized, like, I need to make these time penalties 30 seconds now, because you
right,
need to
right,
make it more accurate. So he outsmarted me on that one this past year. That was our fault. You know what I mean? So
yeah, yeah,
he still won fair and square, but it's things like that where we're learning by doing it, and I mean, he's smart. So
yeah,
he ruined it for everybody this coming year, because
uh huh,
the time penalties are going to be much greater, because we want dead on accuracy rather than just pretty darn close. So and every guy who wins it, you're not allowed to come back and compete. So Dylan won the first year, he got upgraded to a judge. So what we're doing is everybody who wins, you just get moved into the judging spot. And then, once we have enough of them of people, previous winners judging, the oldest one just gets phased out. So everybody who's won ideally would be just put onto the judges panel and run one of their own booths if they want to. You know what I mean? That way,
Right.
you get a new winner every year, and one guy's just not dominating because he just learned how to figure out the different tricks of like, well, just like what Scotty did was,
Right.
the time penalties weren't worth it. Just go ahead and slap it together and just make it pretty close,
Right.
So
Yeah. Oh, he won the first year, right?
no, he didn't win the first year. No,
Oh, I thought he won the first year too.
no.
Uh,
No, Dylan
oh,
Rittenhouse won the first year. The
I got
second year was Scott Milligan from Concord Fab, and
yeah.
yeah. So I'm excited to see who's going to be this
Okay.
year's winner.
Well, I apologize, Scotty. I was I was accusing him of winning 2 years in a row and
Oh
uh
no. Well,
doing shady
he
business
was in the
on the
top
side.
five. He was in the top five the first year.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but he got smoked that first year.
Yeah.
So he was in the top five, but he came in fifth.
Gotcha. Gotcha. No, that's my bad.
Yeah, no, all good, man. So no, but he's yeah, he was actually a huge support in getting Jocko Willink on board with Origin
Good.
Clothing and
Good.
Jocko Energy. So
Yeah.
but yeah, he's an awesome dude, and we're excited to have him on the
Oh
judges
yeah.
panel
Yeah.
for this coming year.
Yeah. He was one of the ones in the CNC group. Fiasco deal where we all got kicked out. Scotty was one of them. So,
I can
but,
see that.
oh yeah. He wouldn't cut anybody any slack either. He would. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Austin, it's been great, man. I appreciate your time. I
Yeah.
really hope
Yeah.
to see you out of FabTech or up here in for the Fabricator Olympics this year.
Yeah. Definitely. We're gonna try.
Awesome,
So,
man. Well, you got anything else you want to add into this before we wrap it up?
and nothing that I can think of, man.
Cool.
Just should save it for the next one.
Let's do it, man. I appreciate your time, buddy.
Yeah, man.
All
Good
right.
deal.
We'll catch up soon.
All right.
All right. See ya. Well, that's it for this episode, guys. Check back in 2 weeks for a brand new episode with a welding business owner you haven't heard from yet. If you like this podcast, please give me a 5-star review on your podcast player and share it with another business owner that you think it'll help. In the meantime, head over to weldingbusinessowners.com, book a call with me. Tell me your funniest story. Tell me a hard lesson that you learned, because you know what? I want to hear it, and I want to share it with all you guys out there. But until next time, get out there, get it done, and get it invoiced.